Abusia I black media ejabo ejano wanya ba bedru abusia wo kantam kase gu amremu a sebi mpanifo se enkamuda epie Anas aremiyaw Anas ene Captain Kojo Smart abon hu video bi a abusia exposé si aye Anas eye edifa eye kinofoliata eho na nam so ama eye attorney general se o pese obomoden se eye openina ye friend se kinofoliata wo declare na se wanted no se wanted ne ho ase no abusia afede ensem no munchiremu efunu no nania bi ana se kuro nso no sabio o pese ekuro wu ntama o waye ani ne sanse ntin Captain Kojo Smart aya wose won de edu mle bi wose wo kaso ye bosuma wo pepa sa bosum we sei aya Captain Kojo Smart wa ba bonten aba be wa ekuro nani na wa kire mu de nti a ese na fata se aya kinofoliata etimi jail in life imprisonment galam se won sensem bi wo mususu se kinofoliata ensa sha ase na ado dan kwa kufu ado ensa sha ase abusia secret aya meeting bi a akoso na aya Anas aremiyaw Anas edan nadi abusia ene Captain Kojo Smart apa ho ntoma eno na mebusa se so enti amra no ebetima makwan ama yetimi ache aya kinofoliata atuma jail no life imprisonment siketua bi a ekokoso kame hwan nyankwaji nsenu mu nchiremu emna sisi ya video wey aye the year 2012 wa eba ane na ye katasumu mwaso the end of the day na MPP amemu ebehye mu kenano eno ene ye kwa akohwe kame nyankwaji emna sisi ye abuja baby a wo hwe me bia wo haw ne amane kodan na bia da eda wo so bia no bomode se onimi bedi nkomo ye de samna nwanwaso bi aba e frene se eye sika kokko na gold samna wo haw bia da eda wo so bia wo hia sa samna we se bi afi wo ye bema wo hwe me wo bema sam wo pom bema ye ketwa rabaji bula matali eduro bi na wo bema enye kese watimi abo adwuma so ache e wo empem ye de akwankyere bi aba abuja no ye hwehwe wo hyebrim a ye frene se mpelifo akwankyere ana se wo betima frene back to sender onipa bi ha onipa bi tata wato bet e won ho se wo sanity bi obeku bomode so be fa numbers na egu screen ase na woni mi akasa me hwehwe hyebre mu hwi a na bomode se me kire wo ne obeye me
aminu Anas aremiyaw Anas
wani
e video bi afa eja edubo ahe ho
I don't know
enentino yen kwode yen da yen hwe video no menim se TV stations be record senka no pay wo mbeyi ana nekura nko mbeyi
oniama achi o
ba yen ne yo edase etino yen konkɔ hwe Anas video no galamsey economy na ye ba ya kayina no ye de beto aso na afei yakofa Ghana ene Switzerland match no so live ahayo nua wontimi mbiti yen obwa efiana mwa
obi abwa
ba se bia fine oh
adom
bia fine dia na chese o se bia fine oh se bia fine dia na chese e jenu anu enti yenko na yenko fa Anas video no ye wi a bacho ye beto so
sika empe dede
oniama achi o ye Captain Smart
In 2012, presidential candidate Akufo-Addo was asked how he would tackle corruption, and his answer caused a stare. He would use the Anas principle, he said.
Setting up highly motivated professional groups of young people who will work undercover to unearth examples of corruption wherever they can find it. What I call the Anas principle.
Akufo-Addo would go on to lose the 2012 election, resulting in a Supreme Court petition, which he eventually also lost.
Dismissed the claim of
The Supreme Court of our nation has spoken. The result of the December 2012 presidential election, whilst I disagree with the court's decision, I accept it.
After two failed attempts in 2008 and 2012.
Today, this year, the lowest rate of growth in our history in the last 22 years under the watch of Mahama. And he is saying with these statistics that we should give him another chance. We are not going to give him another 4 years.
2016 would finally turn out to be the year for Akufo-Addo.
I, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo,
having been elected to the high office of President of the Republic of Ghana,
having been elected to the high office of the President of the Republic of Ghana.
Akufo-Addo's inaugural address was filled with the promise of a new dawn.
A new dawn has arisen in Ghana, which will enable us to build a new Ghanaian civilization, which will be the beacon of Africa and the wonder of the world.
The early days seemed equally as promising, with social interventions such as NAPCO and free SHS.
From today onwards, no child will ever be denied senior high school education simply because his or her family is unable to afford it.
And the pushing of the Ghana Beyond Aid agenda.
Since I became president, I've been advocating for a Ghana, indeed an Africa beyond aid. We have to get away from this mindset of dependence. This mindset about what can France do for us.
Then, in the second year, we released number 12. Tiger Eye's football investigation rocked the very core of the sport in the country, shocking the entire nation and resulting in government moving to dissolve the Ghana Football Association.
When they went to the port with the custom officials, I know some people were punished. So, minimum, we expect that some people will be sanctioned. It shows gross incompetence.
Many people are lacking of everything, but poverty is not an excuse for dishonesty.
In the aftermath of number 12, Member of Parliament for Asin Central, Kennedy Ejapong, launched an attack on Tiger Eye, raining abuse and threatening to expose our reporters.
I am very vigorous. What you mean here?
His smear campaign led to the cover of our lead investigator, Ahmed Hussein Swale, being blown. Ahmed was eventually assassinated by known assailants in January 2019.
A Ghanaian undercover journalist has been shot dead. Ahmed Hussein Swale was a member of Tiger Eye Private Investigations. He was driving home in the capital, Accra, when reports say men on motorbikes shot him 3 times.
Into corruption in Ghana football, about which the BBC Africa Eye program made a documentary.
Surprisingly, there was relative silence from the presidency, apart from a social media post and a statement from the government. The president would later go on to say Ahmed's death could have been as a result of another crime. Press freedom was under massive threat.
I really got worried after I received the news of Ahmed Swale's death. It was so gruesome, the way he died. Bullets to the neck, to the chest, just for, trying to help the state become a better place. And for Ahmed Swale to die that way really triggered a wave of terror, a wave of worry in the realm of Undercover, I must say. And that's really got many of us to take a break, hide ourselves even more than we ever did in times past, hide our families.
And one would have thought that Anas and his men would have been applauded for what they did, but sinister motives were displayed in certain circles, exemplified by Kennedy Ejapong, an MP, who was an MP, still an MP, who openly on the television incited violence, invited people to finish him up, and within days it happened.
And then came the Galamsey menace. Illegal small-scale mining was and still is wreaking havoc among land and water resources in Ghana. The Akufo-Addo government promised to end it by establishing the Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining. When we went undercover on the status quo, the findings were nasty. We found members of the committee willing to take money to betray their very mandate, including the secretary, Charles Bossu. After glaring evidence of corruption, Bossu was left off the hook with no punishment whatsoever. Followed by lies.
So in the video you can tell that I wasn't even interested. I didn't know what was really happening. I never took bribe, but ushered way in it. No, straight to the bottom. No, to go about no being man. In time, no one I don't punish him.
March 2020. 31 days the world is not likely to soon forget.
COVID brought the world to a standstill.
Fellow Ghanaians, these are not over. So let us all put our shoulders to the wheel. And I'm confident that together, by the grace of God, we shall overcome this challenge.
And Ghana began to get things wrong. More controversy came in the name of the national cathedral.
Since gaining our freedom and independence from the British colonial power, Ghana has so far been spared civil war, famine, and epidemics. The construction of the cathedral will be an act of thanksgiving to the Almighty for His blessings, favor, grace, and mercies on our nation.
With the government rallying citizens to pay for its construction.
It was not a nationalistic cathedral, but somebody promised it, and they loaded it on us to contribute. In the first place, they told us that we were not going to contribute a quota. For which reason, Duncan William, said we should shut up because the cathedral was going to be built on their own resources that will be regarded, not the taxpayers' money.
Not to talk of the scandal of top ruling party officials like Chairman Wontumi involved in mining.
2021, August 19th. Now I can tell my Nankasa command the Regional Security Council. Say Omumano security men. Na Omufanko Assassin Abandia Manoso. Na Galamse for Assassin is not to come. These illegal miners have been mining on our concession and in water bodies. I am by this correspondence therefore launching a formal complaint to your outfit to assist us with necessary security detail to arrest all such illegal mining.
Well, you recall that the Lands and Natural Resources Ministry made a declaration that no license has been issued for mineral prospecting in any forest reserve across the area and even in the country as well.
And using gun violence to consolidate gains and intimidate others.
The video of tax and bandits belonging to Chairman Wontumi engaging in an These are the bandits we are talking about.
What's that kind
Meanwhile, the economy is now in a huge mess.
The beginning of the year, you could actually get $1 for 6 cedis, but currently $1 is actually going for 9 cedis, 39 pesos.
The dollar is hitting the roof. It's getting to 14 Ghana cedis.
The truth of the matter is that Ghana has borrowed so much that investors now know for sure that we may not be able to pay that money back.
With inflation at an all-time high, cost of living skyrocketing, and the cedi proving to be the worst performing currency in the world.
Our debt is simply unsustainable. Because of that, investors are deserting our markets. That is leading the government to borrow from domestic market because it cannot get international investors to supplement. In so doing, it is generating additional forces in the economy that are creating inflation because of the crowding out effect. And the fact that that inflation leads investors to try and dump cedi assets and move it to the dollar is damaging our currency.
It remains to be seen how the country will wriggle its way out of its current economic woes.
king of morning shows.
I think it's an issue of willingness and obedience to what Christ would like us to do. Honest, good job done over that period, yes.
Until such persons are made to resign or removed, you should not stay a single day longer.
This is the time, Your Excellency, to make change.
IMF has never been an economic strategy.
Tell the Ghanaian public that this is the last time we are going to IMF. You are a liar.
But the man said COVID came in to spoil all the plans.
They're asking questions. The streets, they're asking questions.
It is obvious, fellow Ghanaians, that you have a government that can.
Long before we got into this economic mess, tongues had been wagging on issues of scratch my back and I scratch yours and conflict of interest issues at the Ministry of Finance regarding Minister Ken Ofori-Atta and his former company Databank, as well as Charles Edubuahine, his Minister of State, formerly of Black Star Brokerage. Tiger Eye decided to investigate, and this is what we found. On June 1st, 2021, the Ministry of Finance released a statement to clear itself of any wrongdoing on the part of Ken Ofori-Atta and Charles Edubuahine on both conflict of interest and abuse of office regarding their former companies. The selection process for firms to act as primary dealers and bond market specialists is based only on merit. The Minister of Finance or his deputies have absolutely no hand in the selection process. The process cannot be subject to any manipulations, the statement from the ministry said.
No, Black Star Securities, Edubuahine's company, had next to zero market share at the time they were made part of this whole bond, acquisition and sale process.
While the ministry statement contends that the minister and his deputies have no hand at all in the selection of companies, Regulation 169 of LI 2378, Public Financial Management Regulation 2019, gives him and his deputies the power and authority to approve all companies in the sector.
Captain Smart.
Ken Ofori-Atta and his Minister of State therefore approved their own Databank and Black Star Brokerage. Tiger Eye also observed that Regulation 165 of the LI gives the minister the power to sell government securities. There has been a sale of government securities to Databank for onward sale. Ken Ofori-Atta, as minister, sells the securities to his own former bank, Databank, where he still holds a significant percentage of shares despite resigning from his official positions. Would this not amount to conflict of interest, contrary to Article 284 of the 1992 Constitution? As a country, how do we ensure that we enact relevant laws to prevent coming finance ministers with financial institutions from using their position to assist their own firms or friends? According to Ken Ofori-Atta in Parliament, his company Databank has made 151 million Ghana cedis, while his Minister of State, Charles Edubuahine's Black Star Brokerage, has raked in millions of cedis. Should these companies not be made to account for the millions they've accrued as a result of the conflict of interest and abuse of office issues?
Captain Smart.
Again, can a minister just dip his hand into the consolidated fund and withdraw money without parliamentary approval? Article 178 of the 1992 Constitution is clear that he cannot do so without parliamentary approval. He withdrew an amount of 199 million Ghana cedis for the construction of the National Cathedral without parliamentary approval.
The truth of the matter is that a lot of the projects on which we spent money, for which reason we borrowed way beyond our capacity to pay back, are simply projects that were cooked to put money in the pockets of people that are powerful and close to other powerful people. Essentially, cronies of the government. Many of the projects are simply projects that have been cooked to enrich cronies of the government. We must take a scalpel through the national budget and cut every single sign of waste, because if we don't do that, we will not be able to create a credible reform plan with or without the IMF.
Captain Smart, the king of morning shows.
The year 2017 was the beginning of what has become known as the Ghana banking crisis. It lasted between August 2017 and January 2020. The Bank of Ghana, BOG, allowed several indigenous banks to be taken over by private companies between August 2017 and January 2019 after Nana Akufo-Addo was elected president in December 2016.
They are going to provide financial resources to support the indigenous banks that would need help in raising the 400 million minimum paid up capital that's required. And number three, they have also said that they are going to be more diligent in ensuring that good governance prevails. That it has been said that nobody is going to lose their money if they have given their monies to licensed banking institutions. We will not have this panic withdrawals continue, okay, because it is going on and it has gone on because people have been afraid.
The crisis is the most severe economic crisis to affect Ghana since it became an independent country in 1960. During this time, the Tiger Eye team became concerned about this and its implications on the economy. Why was this happening? Who was in charge of these decisions? Was the seeming alertness by the economic managers just a flash in the pan or meant to last? Months before Ahmed was brutally shot by yet-to-be-identified gunmen, Tiger Eye went undercover as investors willing to pump money into the Ghanaian economy. The plan was to invest close to $500 million into the banking sector and in other projects, and we wanted those who could lead us to the relevant power players to make it happen. We met with several people who promised to help. They included businessmen, so-called fixers, and even a top Ghanaian lawyer who gave us astute legal advice. He rightfully advised us to retain 75% control of the bank we wanted to set up and leave the remaining 25% for a local partner. Yet, none of them came close to the state minister, who is not only a public servant betraying public trust, but a top keeper of Ghana's purse, Charles Edubuahene, then the Deputy Minister for Finance.
I say that I should explain to you for your own respect. It's not good for him to have every discussion with you outside. He says that it's also true to their royal way of having discussion with their guests. You have discussion with him or her in the open, and then you will dive into closed door. So that's what like as he said, out
Captain Smart, the king of morning shows.
And then social money. So the money we have not touched it there, but we wanted that one to happen. So they have money, but sometimes how to control those money and all of that. You need to be careful. The West will
Captain Smart, the king of morning shows.
No, I totally understand. And, you know, for me, it's not really about money. You know, I'm really committed to my country. We can only make it grow if we have investors like you know, of course, you know, we all like money, but that is not the main thing. The main thing is for the government. But
they say they have some money that they want to mobilize
Captain Smart, the king of morning shows.
In Ghana. He says that he wants all of that to be friendly. And that after when it comes to whatever would be entitled to ransom.
But should that be, would it be in an account within if we open a bank for you or open a separate?
He said that on what he come to this call, he will largely depend on your advice. However, if he can get it to even start, once we are in the process of opening this bank, he will learn that.
Edubuahine was then presented with some money by the investigators who posed as investors as part of the undercover sting.
He would like to know the percentage that he would take for him. It is not a problem.
You know, it's hard to come up with a percentage because I don't know the amount of work involved.
When it comes to the percentages, he said that, for instance, if
Captain Smart,
he said that it's too small figure for the transaction.
Captain Smart,
Captain Smart, the king of morning shows.
What he's saying is that he made a mistake. When you enter a cheese fast, there's a reason why cheese gives you a quarter. So he should have offered that quarter for you to do shopping. So for the shopping. And so before we finish our discussion.
Captain Smart, the king of morning shows.
He says that he knows whatever that you have done in the form of generation. This is just to come for shoppers. And we want to do a lot of businesses in that. So once we give him an indication of the percentage, we can work.
After being briefed of our plan, Edubuahine offered to earn 20% commission on the potential deal and mapped out a strategy we could use. Before then, he admitted to owning a real estate company, opening himself up to conflict of interest issues.
You know, it's like I can't give it. I own myself a real estate company. So we go to real estate. We just finished an office program. Residential, blah, blah, you know, usually the projects are about 50 million, 20 million. So now, if we say,
Captain Smart,
I want to do 2 projects, you know, each one will be an affordable housing, we want to do 1,000 units of affordable.
Captain Smart,
Coming with me, let's share that, put it in as equity. We normally make a return of maybe 25% return, 30% on our equity investment when we do these projects. So then you say, okay, fine. If I bring the whole 50 million for the project, you know, 20% of it is yours. You know, whatever return you make on that 20%, you give that one. I take all 10% or something like that. That's the way you can do it. Or we can say that, okay, fine. Put the money to work, invest in so and so and so, we'll give you a 10% finance fee, and then we'll give you a share of whatever return we make. You know, that is something we can do. So it's up to you and how you're comfortable and how you
Captain Smart, the king of morning shows.
wait for it, really working for money.
It is going to somewhere 500 million dollars. And therefore, if they can get that money as soon as possible into Ghana so that we can use it to start some of this commitment that they are not trying to do in Ghana to be very
that it shouldn't be a problem. Maybe now you can't do all at once. You have to gradually.
Exactly. He mentioned that. I forgot to add that. If you are looking at the figure of $500 million, how much assembly those who are going to involve or who will lead them?
Yes.
How much do you think that you should be entitled to? For him, that's how he is. From the word go, he wants to know anything like that. What are the person that is negotiating with? What would be your target?
Okay. What do you think is fair? I think for me.
The sense that for him, if he offers you anything, it will be unfair even to you.
No.
It is not expected.
No. It's important that he tells you what he thinks.
That would be unfair. It is important for you who is selling to say, okay, this is the quantity, the thousand is worth. He believes in that concept of
it's tough. Jake, what's the right address? What should I call you?
Yeah, Sheikh. Yes, Evan Prince is Sheikh.
Sheikh, 20%.
You'll be happy. Once all of this is we can establish the rest of the pieces and work it out as quick as possible.
I'm surprised. I thought you said,
So he's also interested in leading into the powers that he said he knows you are part of the powers that however, he wants you to lead them to other powers that so that we can, once we are establishing that, we should have that influence as well. And he will commit money to this project as well.
He spoke about how the Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Baubia will be key to the plan at the operational level and how it is important for us to know him.
I was just saying that I have to introduce you to the Vice President. The Vice President is a very good man. He used to be the Deputy Governor of the Bank. So he might tell me what come to the Professor of the Bank. He's very happy. He's a good guy. We got very close to him. Good relationship to have. So I was even thinking about that already. In fact, he was supposed to be coming to go with us to Singapore, but he couldn't make it, So we'll have to arrange, but I think it's important that it's somebody that we bring in to understand, and support him. In 2020, we're going into an election year, and we need to have a lot of resources at our disposal, and so we can start with the relationship. Because he has to support, because he's a politician. Me, I'm not a big politician. I don't do politics.
But I say you vote political position.
My father used to run for president. So the family is political. But, my father was Professor everyone.
Oh, wow. Professor of history.
Yes. As soon as you can, I have to introduce him. Because, even if I'm going to handle something like this, is somebody that I have to bring in. But, at some level, you have to be very detailed, but I'll leave that to you. But it's important that you get to know him.
He also spoke about how President Nana Akufo-Addo is like his uncle, having been the former campaign manager for his late father, Professor Edubuahene.
The president himself is also like my uncle. So he was my father's campaign manager. So he will also bring to that, at the operational level, vice president is the one who handles everything. So he's the guy we should work with. come with 3 or 4 projects, he said,
According to Eduwaine, the vice president has a large family of siblings who have to be put in charge of various projects in order for the plan to work.
He said he has a big family. My president has like 5 or 6 brothers and sisters. So what's going to happen? You tell them that I want to do this project. You have somebody that I
King of morning shows.
and then you will use that to put his brother to work with us on one particular project. That's how we
Giving the vice president $200,000 as a thank you token would be enough, Eduwaine said.
I mean, he himself, if you give him some 200,000 or something as a token, thank you very much. That's fine. It's not really very, it's not really, all he needs is to worry about this is company money. In 2020, you see what I'm saying? And his development of businesses, So, there are some areas that he's very keen about that we're working on, the railways, development of the railways, bauxite refinery, some things, So once we go, we sit down with him and demonstrate that you're very keen to do this. I don't think it will be a problem. Especially the bank, if you tell them about the bank, it'll be very hard.
Eduwaine admitted that the cash gift would do a lot of shopping and then proceeded to gather it into a polythene bag.
Do a lot of shopping.
Captain Smart, the king of morning shows.
Captain Smart.
After which he left the meeting, visibly satisfied. The lack of due diligence by a government minister was baffling to us. Was this how government officials conduct business that concerns an entire country?
Until we are able to sacrifice the desires and the benefits of the powerful for the many, no one will trust Ghana to start bringing their money back.
Captain Smart.
Captain Smart, the king of morning shows. Captain Smart, the king of morning shows.
So that's it. The most important part of the show of that documentary put together by Anas Remio Nas and Awasheno. I'm sure at a later time it will be shown again on Onia TV for you. But the American said, I am penning for no, never be a while, because you're talking to a shaker or less than 40 years, okay? And then you mention Professor Dubois. And then Obeyano said, oh, that professor of history. Bibi ring a bell. Really? Anyway, Branch a friend of Sikano. Sir, when you try to so feature that, didn't bring no answer. I won't be a friend, cause one you're careful.
sika mpe dede.
Sika betumi ama waye dede bia wani nda so.
L'argent n'aime pas le bruit.
Na well, yamana akwatena fie. President is we yi na di. And also yenye nhwehwebo nti wa refer matter to the office of the special prosecutor. Intino yenhwe baby ade na bekwa akodro. But I think that me hwe video ni dinya video ni kase bi ho a ban hwe actually na be yinti. But me hwe ade ni dinya e bi techre.
Captain Smart.
As a way the celebrity
King of morning shows.
Ahmed ne kwa okono. But me hwe ade ni dinya
Onuya
ebi e wachre.